What's up, y'all? It's TTC, aka the ThunderConductor, and we back for another YouTube video and Twitch stream. If you're on Twitch, make sure you follow and ring the bell. And if you're on YouTube, what you doing? Subscribe, ring the bell, and like the video already, because it's gonna be a banger. I got something really spicy and brewing. But I got a question before that. I want to know what your favorite turbo cEDH deck is. Okay, of course, we got some people who gonna say Roxy. And we got some people gonna say Dahada, and then we gonna have a couple people who still play a TNK with the turbo version. We'll have that conversation later. But we're not talking about that. We talking about the best turbo deck in cEDH, and that's Tasigur. And I'm here with my man SJ to talk all about it. And we just gonna get right into it. You there, brother?
Yep, I'm here.
Let's get it, man. This is SJ. He recently, which tournament was it, brother? He recently performed very well. In which one?
It was the SEG Philly.
Ooh, okay. So come on, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us how you got into Tasigur. Just spill it, brother.
Okay, I've been playing Magic for about 12 years now. Originally got into mostly Modern, but got into cEDH about 6 months ago.
Cool.
I had Tasigur as just a casual EDH deck, and so when I got into cEDH, I upgraded him.
Got you.
And been playing him ever since, and it's been doing good for me.
Good. It's good to hear that. So then you played the EDH. I'm sure it was the story. Oh, I was trying to power my deck up, and my play group wasn't with it. Or did you have an experience where your whole play group leveled up with you? How was that transition from EDH to cEDH?
I'm not a big fan of EDH. I didn't really play all too much, but I'd seen a lot of it. I watched a lot of playing with power, stuff like that on YouTube, and was interested in the format. So I kind of got into it directly. So I like competitive Magic. And it was just another form of that. So I got interested in it, and it's just a stellar format. It's so much fun.
Bruh, I could not agree with you anymore. Honestly, I feel that way likewise. I came from Modern similarly, and then I played a little bit of EDH, but it was a couple of it was a couple of play patterns that I wasn't a huge fan of. And so when I finally got into cEDH, it was like, oh my gosh, I get all the creativity of EDH, but all the competitiveness of Modern or Legacy. It was the best thing ever. I could not complain. So I absolutely love your story, and I love how you got here. But talk to me, Tasigur, SG Philly. Tell me about the whole experience, man.
It was good. It was my first time at a tournament of that size. So I think it was 125 players, something like that.
That ain't no joke, boy.
Yeah. I tried to keep my expectations low going into it, but had a great run. The deck performed really well, and it was just a blast. It was a lot of fun.
Dude, man. Okay. We gonna get into that in a second, but we here to talk about Tasigur. SG Philly will come in a sec. And when you see this commander, I'm like, of course, we're in the era of big commanders. We got the Traxxas and Tivits, but we have this Sultai 6-mana commander that is Tasigur that says for 5 and a black, first of all, you can pay it with Delve, so you get a little discount on it, which is nice. But it says for 2 and 2 Simic, you can mill 2 cards, then return a non-land card from an opponent's choice from your graveyard to your hand. So very quickly, what brought you to Tasigur out of all the plenty of commanders out there, man?
I think for me, Tasigur, Sultai's always been a favorite of mine. I like the color combination, but Tasigur lets you do some pretty interesting things. The fact that it's a 6-drop with Delve, so you get to cheat on that mana cost a lot. It's not that hard to cast him turn 1, turn 2. It's pretty easy, and then we'll get into some of the other combos later. But you get to use that 6 mana cost that you are casting on turn 1 and 2.
Exactly.
And then his activated ability, it doesn't look like much on the surface. You're giving your opponents the choice of card that they're giving to you, but once you get infinite mana, which is one of the ways that this deck tries to win, you get every single card in your library into your hand, and you get to cast it over and over again as many times as you want. It's incredibly powerful. So once you achieve that infinite mana, you it's easy at that point. You can win with a ham sandwich.
I hear you there. I definitely hear you there, man. And if we look through your list quickly, like on a quick view, we're only seeing 8 creatures and not even seeing some of the regular Tasigur hits where like this is very commonly an Eldritch Evolution Neoform deck. So it's kind of telling me you're more on a turbo brew of Tasigur. So what kept you from moving from control more into this turbo variant?
I think both versions are totally viable. They're both really good.
Yeah. But
we're in this phase of cEDH right now, this mid-range hell that people like to call it. And in my opinion, it's a good place to be asking the questions rather than answering the questions. So all these other decks are trying to spend the first handful of turns setting up their mana, setting up their value engines, and then planning for the long game. And if you can get in under that, you can exploit that weakness.
I couldn't agree more. 100%. You're so right. Wow. I really do see you. Like, I want to get straight into the win cons, but before we get into the win cons, brother, I just want to say quickly to the audience, if you're looking for more ways to support the channel, we have 3 main ways. Number 1 is our ThunderConductor proxies. First of all, we have our premium paperback proxies. It's my way to increase access to this amazing format that we call cEDH. Not to mention, number 2, we have our Patreon. It's in a way to get deeper access to talk with me. I'm a professional musician in addition to doing music, in addition to doing magic. So you can talk to me about magic, music, and have the chance to have your deck featured right here on the channel, both on Twitch and on YouTube. And lastly, you can also have your name and info shout out right on the channel. So I want to take a sec to say thank you to our mono red tier patron right here, our man Scott Mitchell. You are the man. Thank you so much. You keep the lights on in a way you couldn't imagine. And very much lastly, if you say, T, I don't want no Patreon, I don't want no proxies, I just want to say one time for the fun time, I love what you do and I will support you. No problem at all. Link in the bio. Go ahead and buy me a coffee. It keeps me up and keeps the lights on. But with that said, let's get to these win cons. SJ, brother, talk to me. How you winning? How you getting under these draw engines, dog? You saying you getting under them. You saying you getting under the ramp. So how you doing it, brother? How you winning, man?
Okay, so the 2 main ways that you're actually going to be winning the game, Thassa's Oracle plus Demonic Consultation or Tandem Pack. That's a classic.
Can't go wrong with it. I don't leave on without it.
Yeah, nope. It's the best combo in those colors. And then you've got an old favorite, Isochron Scepter and Dramatic Reverse.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you pair that with any number of mana rocks, create infinite mana, and then, like I mentioned before, activate Tasigur over and over and over again, get all your cards.
Yes.
And then...
1 second, brother. If the audience is not aware of this, how the infinite activations work, if you all are not aware of, if you infinitely activate them, you're basically going to mill your entire deck and put all the 9 lands into your hand. And it doesn't matter if you're giving your opponents a choice, you're eventually going to put your whole deck in your hand. And you can do different loops, or you can just kill them with Thassa's Consultation or however you want to kill them. But continue, brother. Continue.
Yeah. So those are the cards that actually win the game. And then we've got the sort of pseudo combos of Ad Nauseam, Necropotence, and Peer into the Abyss.
Okay, so we got
they're gonna draw you a ton of cards, and with that you're gonna get to your actual win conditions.
Got you. And I love Peer into the Abyss. I've played a little bit of Tasigur, so I'm already like, I get geeked up when I hear you talk about Peer into the Abyss. This is actually the best Peer into the Abyss deck, in my opinion, in the entire format. And we'll get into that in a second, but keep going, brother.
Yeah, and then you're gonna have the Tasigur specific combos of Neoform and Eldritch Evolution. So
talk to me.
Tasigur being a 6-drop, Neoform turns it into a 7-drop. You're gonna go get your Scholar of the Lost Trove.
Okay.
That enters the battlefield. You recast your Neoform, sacrificing Scholar. You go get your 8-drop. That's gonna be Hoarding Broodlord. And then Eldritch Evolution, you get to skip all that and just go right into Hoarding Broodlord.
Exactly.
Broodlord gets saw in half.
Yep.
You saw in half your Broodlord, get 2 more.
Yep.
And then you're going to pick up a sacrifice and then that Peer into the Abyss that we were just talking about.
There it is. So you just
sacrifice.
Go ahead.
Sacrifice one of those Broodlords, you get 8 mana, and then you cast Peer, targeting yourself, draw half your deck.
Sheesh. So what you just basically told me is if you can get your commander out on turn 1 on turn 2 for what is that? With Neoform, we're talking for 2 colorless and a green and a blue. You're winning with Peer in the Abyss on turn 2, and with Eldritch Evolution, you're winning with what is that? 2 green and 3 colorless.
Yep. You see one of those effects, 2 more colorless, and then you've got Peer into the Abyss.
Man, I absolutely love that. I absolutely love that. So, how are there any other win cons you want to talk about, brother?
That's pretty much it. We've got our backups. So we've got our Mnemonic Betrayal and Praetor's Grasp. If all else fails, we can steal our opponent's graveyards, or with Praetor's Grasp, take something out of our opponent's deck. So 100%. If all else fails, we have that to fall back on, and then Yawgmoth's Will and Noxious Revival to kind of rebuy any of those effects that we might want to pick up later on in the game if we don't go off the first time.
Now, I'm not too much of a black mana mage. I usually, when I do any regrowth effects, is usually with Underworld Breach or Savine's Reclamation or any of those type of effects. How is Yawgmoth's Will in 2024 for you?
It's good. It's not Underworld Breach. You don't get to loop the cards out of your graveyard because they do get exiled.
Right.
But if you try to go off, you spend some of your Dark Rituals or Cabal Rituals for an ad nauseum, and it gets countered. Yawgmoth's Will is gonna give you access to those cards again, and you can try and go off one more time.
I hear you there. Yeah, that is. And side note for the audience, big thing. Please remember that this says if a card we put in your graveyard from anywhere this turn, exile that card instead. So please don't cast Yawgmoth's Will before you start looping if you plan on doing the infinite loops, because if I'm not mistaken, this would exile your entire deck, right? Yeah. So with your commander, if you end up sinking the mana, just don't make that mistake. But outside of that, okay, it's good to hear Yawgmoth's Will got a little bit of a legs on it. And of course, in this deck, is there any other fun things that you can do with like Praetor's Grasp, for example, if you had infinite mana?
Well, I mean, the good thing is you can cast it over and over again and exile all of your opponent's libraries.
And I'm gonna keep saying this is the best deck for this card. This is not just the best Peer in the Biz deck. This is by far the best Praetor's Grasp deck in the entire. All right, so here's how it works, you all. Like, if you are not aware how it works, is once you're able to have infinite mana, you're able to loop things with your commander. You can infinitely just exile your opponent's libraries and not just take their win cons like the card was meant to do. You can exile their entire library, like SJ talks about. So one of my favorite reasons to run this card is it's not just I'm gonna take your win con. No, if all else fails, I'm just gonna exile your library. You know what I'm saying? So I absolutely love that, brother. And of course, Mnemonic Betrayal cannot, if you did hit it right at the beginning with it being, we're in such a mid-range game, I definitely hear you when you say that, it's a good backup win con, graveyard's filled, let's go for it. So I do love that.
The card's fantastic.
Yes.
Probably the last thing I want to draw attention to are the cards that are going to give us spells at flash speed. So Emergent Zone and Born Upon a Wind.
Yes.
So those are the cards. If you stick a Necropotence, pay 30 life, put 30 cards into your hand in your end step, you're going to want to actually cast those spells before you discard.
Yes.
So Born Upon a Wind and Emergent Zone let you do that. And then Crop Rotation lets you search for your Emergent Zone and put it into play.
Yes. I love that, brother. I love that. So you've listed off a good sum of lit win cons from Adnaz to Peer in the Abyss, and of course we have the finishers of Thassa's or Peer in the Abyss or any of these other looping spells. I'm sure there's some cheeky things you can do with Swan Song and to make infinite birds if you wanted to, yada yada yada. So of all these win cons, which one do you usually find is most viable, or even more, which one comes up most often?
I think Thassa's Oracle is really easy to assemble because you need 2 cards and nothing else.
Right.
But if I can, I try to go for infinite mana. Once you have that infinite mana, you basically can't lose. You can just cast Thassa's Oracle after you draw your deck. Mm-hmm. You can give yourself flash to go off in response to your own win condition. It's incredibly safe once you have infinite mana.
Yeah.
So I like to go for that if possible. If not, Thassa's Oracle is still great.
100%. And I love what you said earlier about the safeness of a win. Like, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, brother, where it's like a thing where it's like you go, like, sometimes you have a choice between, okay, I can do a couple, like 4 or 5 steps and make infinite mana and then win, or I can just do Thassa's consultation, and you get stopped on the consultation line and you just think about, like, dang, if I just made infinite mana and drew my whole deck, I would be in the same spot. Yeah, maybe I triggered Ristic 1 or 2 more times, but I'd have had all my counter spells in hand, and then nobody would have been able to stop me. Or some other situation where, you know, having your whole deck available to you, or you just generally just having infinite mana just opens up such a smoother line. Like, there's nothing you all can do. There's no fish triggers. There's nothing that can happen that stops us from being our best self. So I like how you brought that up. That's very, very important. I definitely hear you there, brother. Okay. So any other win cons you want to touch on?
That's pretty much it. That's what the deck's trying to do. Draw as many cards as it can and then assemble one of those 2 combos after the fact.
I love hearing that. Okay. So with that being said, we have a plethora of win cons, but we also got to get to those win cons. So talk to me about your tutor package. Like, we've already talked about Horde and Broodlord, but there must be another plethora of tutors in this deck as well. Yeah,
definitely. So definitely playing Demonic Tutor. It's the best one there is.
Okay.
And we've got Imperial Seal and Vampiric Tutor. Yep. Mystical Tutor is the best blue tutor, and then we've got Wishclaw Talisman as well.
Okay. 100%.
So Black is giving us access to the best tutors in the game. So we're playing all of them. We're not playing Diabolic Intent. We don't have many creatures, so that extra cost to sacrifice a creature is not common enough to include that in the deck. So that's the only exclude.
Smart.
And then obviously Tainted Pact isn't a great tutor, but it can get there in a pinch if you need it to.
Oh, 1,000,000,000%. Like, come on, y'all. Like, if you ain't Tainted Pact because you about to lose the game, I don't know if you've been playing enough cEDH. We've all been there, like, oh, do or die. I just need 1 counter spell out of my deck. You got to go a few cards down, but you'll get there. And I definitely hear there. Like, that is so true, man. 100%.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so, okay. That's an amazing tutor package. I kid you not. And we briefly talked about these already as win cons, but we of course have Neoform and Eldritch. But usually, I'm guessing these tutor packages are mostly used for win. Like, if you cast those, you're usually trying to win the game. It's not anything cheeky or anything unique. Like, are there any special cases you use these tutors for?
I think if you look at your opening hand and you can assemble a turn 1 or 2 Ristic Study or the One Ring, that's generally something I'll go for as well. Obviously, this deck can win on turn 2 and turn 3 pretty consistently, but it can mid-range as well. So
100%.
You get that early advantage piece. That's a very good plan to go for.
100%. That makes 100% sense, brother. Okay, cool. And you kind of already talked about, you start touching on something called draw engines. If y'all not aware, we're in the mid-range hell right now. We're in this mid-range meta, and so draw engines are important. And so we're not just tutoring; we're also trying to draw cards. So tell me about this, man. Like, what are our draw engines inside this deck, and just card draw in general?
Yeah. So we got our 2 blue enchantments, Mystic Grimoire, Ristic Study. Everyone knows them. They're the best.
Don't leave on without it.
Exactly. We've got the One Ring.
I love this
card. Is just incredible. We're also including Sylvan Library. It's good enough, you know. Sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do.
Dog.
And then
can we pause for 1
Windfall.
second? I gotta rap with you, man. Be honest with me. How do you? I took Sylvan Library out of my Tasigur list. How are you? Be real with me, man. If they released another green to draw engine, how would you keep Sylvan Library? How do you honestly feel about this?
Probably not. it's not that good, but in this deck specifically, I think it's fine. If you're playing a mid-range version, don't play Sylvan Library. It's not fantastic.
Yeah, I think that was definitely the situation I was dealing with, where, like, if there's no other Adonais decks to the table, and if I'm not running the turbo version, you're not running Adonais, people will, if there's no other Adonais players, it's like, well, you're using your life total, and it's like part of the mid-range game is getting the mid-range game. And if you're already at less than 20 life by turn 3, turn 4, you're not making it to turn 5 or 6, even if it gets drawn out from like a couple counter wars, stopping a couple win attempts. So you'll never get there. So yeah, how for you specifically, with you running Necropotence and Ad Nauseam, is there ever any friction with Sylvan Library and your Ad Nauseam or Necropotence?
Yeah, of course. You gotta consider your life total, obviously. But if you don't want any of those 3 cards that you're looking at, you can just draw 1 and rearrange the top. You don't have to pay 8 life every turn.
That's true.
But yeah, I mean, if you're mulliganing down to 6, 5, 4, and you're staring at a Sylvan Library, it will dig you out of that mulligan. So
that's true.
It's something you can rely on if you have to.
That's true. I that's very fair. Yeah. Sylvan Library is one of those cards that's always so difficult for me just to look at and be like, dang man, like, especially, and very last thing, my biggest, the last hiccup that I found in my personal path was, if you're getting it down, if you're not getting it down on turn 1 and you're getting it down on turn 2, you're really not getting the benefits till turn 3. And unless, like, it's just that 3 cards on turn 3 can sometimes feel a little like, this is a little mid. But it is a thing at the end of the day where I respect where you're coming from. It's like, it's a draw engine. We're not in white, so we don't have Esper Sentinel or Archivist of Yawgmoth to lean on, or even the Trouble in Pairs would be nice. But we just gotta wait for them to draw some new, make some new card draw engines for green. So Wizards, come on guys, get at it.
Make me better, please.
Please. I mean, like, because at this point, like, Black already has great draw engines with Necro and Adnaz, and Blue, do we need to talk anymore? Like, come on now. Just throw green some love, y'all. But okay, is there any other notable draw engines or any like card draw you would like to touch on, brother?
Yeah, I played 1 wheel. I played a copy of Windfall.
Okay.
I'm not super high on wheels at the moment, but again, if you're mulliganing down pretty low, and you can put together a Windfall on turn 1 or turn 2, then it's something to consider. So
I definitely
kind of mess with other people's hands, get back in the game, draw some cards. It's not too bad.
No, 100%. I agree with that. And you're hitting it like you're. I can see why you did so well in the tournament. A lot of people, even myself for a time, like, I'm not bullish on wheels either, unless you're playing Smother and Tithe and you do combos like that, or like Nard said, you're trying to strip everybody's hand. Having 1 wheel, if you have access to them, is really not the end of the world, because it really can be that card that gets you back into the game. And, you know, I was in the school of thought, if you're not playing silence effects, don't touch them with a 10-foot pole. But when you're in a mulligan down to 4 or 5 and you can drop a turn 1 wheel, you're not just disrupting your opponents, you're also getting yourself back in the game. So I could not agree more with that point. Is there any reason though are we running Windfall or Time Twister for any special reason?
The one upside for Windfall over Time Twister is if you can have your opponents discard their hands, that helps set up your Mnemonic Betrayal a little bit better. So get those cards in the graveyard and then steal them with Mnemonic Betrayal.
Very smart. That's true. Because we are running Mnemonic Betrayal, so I love that synergy right there, where like it's basically almost a 2-card combo where you dump the graveyard. Well, because you'd have to draw the Mnemonic Betrayal afterwards. But hypothetically, in Fairy Tale Land, it's great whether you have any of your tutors. You can do 1 turn Windfall and then set up for the next turn to do a Mnemonic Betrayal. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you ever find in a Underworld Breach world that this Windfall bites you in the tail, or is it usually, are you like, what conditions do you find yourself casting the wheel?
It's really to get you back from those mulligans. Casting this in the mid game can be dangerous, especially if you can't win immediately after it, because you're potentially giving your opponents a fresh new set of cards that they can use to combo. So
exactly, yeah, that's true.
I'm down to just the 1 wheel, and it's really just good for digging you out of a bad mulligan.
Yeah, no, I definitely hear you there. We just had Splendid Jet said, just showed up. What deck are we looking at? We are looking at Tasigur, the Golden Fang, but not any Tasigur list, a turbo Tasigur list. And in my opinion, one of the best turbo lists in all of cEDH. So stay tuned. We talking greatness. We just got done talking about card draw engines, and Is there any other card draw engines you want to touch on, or are those the main ones? That Ristic Mystic, Wheel.
Yeah, those are going to be the main ones.
Okay, 100%. And of course, we could talk about the cantrip with the Born Upon the Wind, but what I really more want to talk more about is, you kind of touched on it, is interacting with our opponent. What's our removal and interaction package looking like?
So you do get to play. So some of the good parts about green is you get Abrupt Decay and Assassin's Trophy.
Oh yes, 100%.
Really good catch-all removal spells, and especially with Abrupt Decay being uncounterable. Any Stax piece that you want to take off the board, a Ristic Study that you want to get rid of. Those are really good at taking care of that.
100%.
And then we have Cyclonic Rift, Chain of Vapor, and Snap as bounce spells. Snap's great because it technically costs 0. You get to untap 2 of your lands.
Yeah.
Cyclonic Rift being that sweeper, having that option to be a sweeper is very good.
Yes.
And then Chain of Vapor is just a super versatile spell. You can bounce your opponent's stuff. You can bounce your own mana rocks to generate some extra mana in a pinch. And then we also get to play March of Swirling Mist, which is a super good card. Getting to take multiple Stax creatures or creatures that are pressuring your life total off the field for a turn is really, really strong.
Exactly.
And can cost just a blue mana if you have some extra cards to pitch to it.
Exactly. And the biggest thing about that I love about this one is that instant speed. So like how you said, like whether it's like, oh shit, they're trying to swing lethal at me, let me just wipe the board for like the key creatures at instant speed, or on the flip side, go, oh, I'm trying to win next turn and these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 creatures are in my way. Let's just go ahead and just march those away, and then they'll come back. So if I get stopped, at least my other opponents are not gonna take use of that. In the flip side, if you were to go Cyclonic Rift, that Stax player may not be able to rebuild as fast enough to get back everything, and it may be like a whole win after scenario. So absolutely love the March of Swirling Mist in this deck. Love it, love it, love it.
One more card I want to touch on here is Culling Ritual.
Oh, please talk to me about this.
Probably the best reason to be in green. I think, in my opinion, the best green spell.
Oh, talk
that's
to me,
currently
brother.
in
Talk
the format.
To me, brother.
This card is insane. Destroying every single person's mana rocks, their value creatures, their Stax creatures, everything, and then generating sometimes up to 10, 12, 15 mana in the process. This card is so powerful. Chaining this into your Ad Nauseam or into your Peer into the Abyss, or even just wiping the board, casting Tasigur and activating a couple times, even that's not too bad. Yeah, I
agree. I absolutely love this spell. I remember the first time casting it. I'm gonna be honest, it is one of the most busted things, and it's just very seldomly can you lose a game after getting this one off. Yeah,
it's hard to.
No, 100%. It's just, how do you lose after this? We got Technomace saying Color Ritual is so good in the track. So that's another banger one. It's like, it's so malleable whether you want to go into your commander like how SJ said, or if you just want to honestly win the game with Peer into the Abyss or Ad Nauseam. It's just so flexible, the possibilities, and he still have leftover mana to use after doing these haymaker spells. Dude, so malleable. Absolutely love that, brother. Keep going, man. Got any more removal and interaction?
That's it for the removal. Okay. Then we've got obviously our counter spells that.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I'm seeing Offer, You Can't Refuse. Yeah, let's see. Dispel. Talk to me about Dispel. How do you feel how do you feel about Dispel?
The thing is that we're excluding a couple notable counter spells from our suite here. We're not running Mindbreak Trap, we're not running Force of Negation, we're not running Fierce Guardianship. So we're really looking to protect our combo on turn 2 or turn 3, and those spells are better for stopping our opponents. So we're playing Dispel, we're playing Spell Pierce. They're not as good, but they're gonna help us protect our combo rather than just stop our opponents.
I agree. I like your method, your thought process. Like, am I trying to be offensive or defensive with my counter spells? And yes, all right, if I'm if it's turn 6 and I'm in the middle of a counter war, I'm not happy to be spell pierce, but that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to win the game early, and the people don't have 2-3 extra mana to pay for that miscast or spell pierce. So I absolutely agree with that methodology. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But obviously, we're still playing Flusterstorm, Force, Mental Misstep, Pact Negation, all the best ones there. So
100%.
That's going to be our package, mostly for protecting our combo in the early game.
100%. That makes 100% sense. I feel you there, and I'm also seeing a Veil of Summer. Cannot leave home without it. Love it, love it, love it, man. Let's see. We also have for removal. Well, I did see this is a little cheeky remove. So we are running the Deathrite Shaman. We'll talk about a little more with the ramp, but a lot of people forget about that. Like they'll mill their Brain Freeze over, or they'll drop their Brain Freeze in the graveyard and then forget about that Deathrite Shaman on board. And it's like, not today, not today. It's
a little bit of extra graveyard hate.
Just a little bit. It gets across that finish line. It definitely gets the job done.
It comes up sometimes.
Oh, 100%. This is like, honestly, I love Deathrite Shaman in the decks that are able to run it. Even in the universe where sometimes it won't do anything, it's very seldomly when that happens. Like, because even in this deck itself, I'm thinking, we'll talk more about lands in a little bit, but I'm thinking you're running almost all your fetches for your color, correct?
Yeah, pretty much.
So you're probably going to be feeding your Deathrite, if not everyone else as well with it. So that's so awesome to hear, man. I kid you not. Okay. Let's see. Any other removal or interaction you want to talk about? We pretty much touched on everything, right?
The one thing we should probably talk about is Defense Grid.
Yes.
It doesn't come up a lot, but we're in Sultai. We don't get to run Silence, so it's something that we can stick to protect our combo proactively rather than reactively.
Yes, I agree. I 100% agree. And honestly, that kind of takes us into like our protection for ourselves, our boards, and our spells. Like Defense Grid is honestly just such an amazing like way to protect. Like just it is needed because solid. Like when you're in this mid-range meta where like when you have to fight the Heuristic Study or a Mystical Mooring, and even an Esper Sentinel, like 1 or 2 Esper Sentinels on board can be the difference between you winning or losing. And you locking down that Defense Grid and just saying, no, I'm just gonna lock this down and just no more, you cannot interact after this, is really it's great. Not to mention the fact that it's an artifact, and we forget how hard artifacts are to interact with on the stack. It's actually kind of disgusting. It's funny, but it's actually disgusting because I mean, if you think about it, outside of like the regular like all counter spells like Force Will and Pact Negation, the only other one that really can touch it is an offer you can't refuse. You know what I'm saying? And like sometimes there's a lot of people who are not running offer because they don't want to give their opponents the 2 treasures. So that even lowers the number of spells that can touch it. So yeah, like I gotta say I love to see you running this Defense Grid against this, man. Great include, brother.
The interesting thing about Defense Grid being a permanent as well is if you can put this into play on turn 1 or turn 2 and then just kind of pass the turn around and then go off on your next turn.
Ooh, you one of them players. Ooh.
If you want to get risky, you can get risky with it.
Yo, you like living on the edge. What you do in your free time, brother? You like living on the edge. Hey, yo, man. Like, tell me your top story. Just grace me. Tell me your top drop a Defense Grid past turn story.
I mean, I haven't done it yet in the game, but it's a plan. It's something you can do.
Okay, no, you good. Look, the reason I'm not shitting on it is because I actually had a game where a guy did it, and he fucking won. It was the most disgusting thing I ever seen in my life. Like, I was going first, he was going second, and it was 2 other players, and it was just the Mardu deck, you know, just the greedy players, the guys who just want to see everything burned. But I kid you not, it wasn't even like early game. It was like turn 4. He drops a Defense Grid, and he's like, it's like, I looked at him like, what are you doing? And he like really nervous dude, more timid dude. He was like, yeah, I'm gonna play the Defense Grid. I'm like, he only has 1 mana open. Like, what is he gonna do with this? I was like, no one can counter it. So I'm like, all right, I guess somebody's gonna win. And one after another, no one had a win con, and no one was able to get the Defense Grid. I think one person tried to win, and someone had a channel effect to stop him. and it got back to him, and he just comboed off, and everybody just was like, hey bro, mad respect. No one was mad because it was like, you took a gamble, you got it, brother.
Yeah.
like no one could actually get mad about that. Another cat that I know who usually does moves like this is my guy Samurai. He plays a lot of Malcolm Kedis, and he is a cat that I've seen him do some moves like this where it's just chaotic, but it's very strategic, and it's actually disgusting how strategic chaos can be when you do it and you just lean into it and just move with it just with grace and flow. So I am not mad at the defense grid pass as long as you win. You better win.
Yeah.
If you better win if you go defense grid pass. If you lose, we box it, but if you don't, you good. Okay. Of course, I'm seeing the one ring gives yourself protection. That's another way to protect yourself. Are there any other ways that we protect ourselves and our spells and like any permanents on our board?
No, pretty much just the removal and the stack interaction. That's going to be our main game plan for protecting our combos.
Okay, I definitely feel you there. Like, once again, I see Veil of Summer, I get happy. I love this card. Have you ever fancied a card called Legolas's Quick Reflexes?
No, I don't think so. It's a good card, but for us, we're not really looking to have creatures stick around.
I agree,
for very
and
long.
I hear you there.
So if someone wants to point a removal spell at the Tasigur, it's not that big of a deal to let him go. We can just delve a couple more cards and put him back into play.
100%. Yeah. I definitely hear you there. Yeah, this is a card that I've been looking for a deck to play it in, but I just none of my decks right now just do it, and I agree with you. Especially with you only running 8 creatures, I don't see a reason to run it, but I definitely hear you there, brother. All right, so at this point,
if Tasigur were more of a card advantage engine, I could see it just to protect him, but he's more of an outlet.
I definitely hear you. I definitely 100%. We got Techno Maze saying, I laugh at how many people think I can't kill them through the One Ring when I have an Ob Nixilis. Yeah. Oh, what win cons do you win with Ob Nixilis? Techno Maze, drop them down in the chat real quick, brother. But while we're doing that, SJ, talk to me. You got any stacks in this list, brother?
No stacks, just defense grid as the sort of pseudo silence effect, but we're looking to win fast. We're not looking to stop our opponents very much.
I definitely hear. Okay, Reese, mad respect. I definitely hear you there. Yeah, like I'm not seeing a Dothy in here. The craziest thing, I'm not seeing an Orcish Bowmaster or an opposition agent. So
yeah,
that's a tough decision to make, but a decision you made. What goes through your mind? Like, we're seeing the Phyrexian Metamorph, and we'll talk to a little bit about the clones, but talk to me about that.
Yeah, so with especially with Bowmaster and cards like that, we're devoting a lot of our deck to the combo.
Yes.
So while Bowmaster and Oppo are good at controlling our opponents, controlling the board, stopping them from tutoring, things like that, we're just looking to win. We're looking to win as quickly as possible, and we're not really concerning ourselves with slowing down or stopping our opponents.
I definitely hear you there. Yeah, that's very fair. It's really hard to see a list in 2024 without Orcish Bowmasters, but when you just say it like that, it's just like, look, yeah, I could stop you, but why would I want to ping you for 2 every turn when I can just win on turn 2? You know what I'm saying? And that's mad respect. I hear you there.
Yeah, it's definitely a concession of this list because, especially with the Horde and Broodlord lines, it takes a lot of cards. It takes a lot of slots to make that happen. So while they're powerful, we're definitely giving up some stuff to have access to that.
I definitely hear you there, and it's a great line, but it takes a package. It takes a full package to put in the deck, and something got to go. You know what I'm saying? Either you give up on the speed, which is an option, but if we're trying to go Turbo Tasker, we got to commit to that. And so I guess, not a guess, but you have to let certain cards go. And so I definitely hear you there. With that being said, though, if we're not trying to stop the table, we're trying to go faster. So Talk to me about your ramp package, man.
Yeah, so we got a lot of the usual suspects: Mana Crypt, Mana Vault, Mox Diamond, Soul Ring, Mox Opal, all the good stuff.
Don't leave
Jewel
home without
Lotus
it.
is fantastic in this deck because not only does it add 3 mana, we can also delve it for a 4th. So it pays for 4 mana for Tasigur. We got Carpet of Flowers, still really good, even if it's just generating 1 extra mana a turn. And then we are not playing any Talisman. We're playing Dimir Signet instead. So when we're going off with Isochron Scepter Dramatic Reversal, we can't be taking damage to create colored mana. So can't play this Talisman, unfortunately.
I definitely hear you there, and that was a lesson that I quickly learned. Like about this deck, it sucks, but this is actually, I think this and maybe Sisay, the Weatherlight Captain, is the only list in cEDH that you'll actually see these signets over the talismans, because it's just not an option. Even when it comes to filtering for your commander, if you want to cheat something off, that damage can really add up over time. So yeah, I definitely hear you there, the addition. Any thought about running the Golgari signet in addition, or you just wanted just the blue-black signet?
Yeah, you could. This is, I think, the number of rocks that are in the deck felt like a good number to me, and so I just wanted to play the signet that made blue rather than the one that made green.
Respect. I hear you there. I definitely hear you there. Okay, so we got all the good mana rocks. We having a good time. We having a blast. Of course, I did notice we missed one card draw engine earlier, Brainstorm. What is the reason for running Brainstorm, the cantrip?
So two main scenarios. If we draw Broodlord or Scholar and need to put them back in the deck, Brainstorm can do that. And then if you go off with Necropotence and you draw Crop Rotation and Emergent Zone, you can use the Brainstorm to put the Emergent Zone back in the deck and then Crop Rotation it directly into play.
Oh, shit. You are a motherfucking diabolical genius. That's genius. Okay, I mess with that. I really, really do. Because, I mean, no one ever thinks about that. There will be times when you don't draw your Born Upon the Wind, and you'll end up drawing the Emergence Zone. You can only, or both Emergence and Crop, and you have to have a way to put it back. That's genius, brother. I'm not mad at that. Not at all. Okay, cool. We talking the same language now. Okay, I like to hear that. Okay, so any other ramp pieces? Oh, I'm seeing a very interesting card called Energy Tapped. Energy Tap.
Yeah, that's a weird one. So blue mana, tap a creature, add colorless to your mana pool for its converted mana cost.
Yes.
Pay 1 for Tasigur, energy tap it, make 6.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a little out there, but it works well in this deck.
Yeah. So for my Tasigur list, I'm always on the wall about this one because there's so many pips in the deck, and I'm always unsure if outside of maybe like if at that point really it's just the Peer in the Abyss. Like, can you give us some scenarios where this energy tap has really came in clutch for you?
I think energy tap is best post Peer into the Abyss or post Ad Nauseam. Once you've got all the cards in your hand and you need the mana just to put your Isochron Scepter into play and activate it, that's where energy tap really shines.
I hear you, because even if you're... Go ahead, brother. Yeah, go ahead, brother.
Oh, yeah. It's not great for casting those spells because they do take a lot of black pips, and the Neoform and the Eldritch Evolution need green and blue, so it's not great for starting it. But once you have all those cards in your hand, it's gonna let you dump all the rocks or just put Isochron Scepter into play and activate it. So yeah, it's best after you've cast your big draw engine.
I definitely hear you there. And I did. Okay, that makes more sense. Okay, cool. So yeah, that makes sense, and I love to see it, man. Like I love to see that people are pushing the boundaries of what's viable in cEDH. That's one of my favorite things about what I saw when I first saw this card. So, and of course, we've already talked about Color Ritual, but it's a ramp spell too. So I love to see that as well, man. Of course, we could just retap on that in a sec. I'm also seeing we are running Elvish Spirit Guide and 3 Mana Dorks. So, of course, Elvish Spirit Guide just makes sense. It's just free. But talk to me about the choice of these 3 Mana Dorks right here.
Yeah, they make black mana. That's the most important part about them.
Got you.
Necropotence costs 3 black, and Pure costs 3. Ad Nauseam needs 2. So, like Llanowar Elves or Elvish Mystic are good, but they don't help us cast the spells that we really need them to. So,
respect.
Elves of the
I hear
Deep
you.
Shadow. Yeah, that's why we're playing those ones.
Definitely hear you there. Yeah. So, and I love that because from what you're saying at this point, it's like you can literally know if you have if you have 2 lands, a Dork, and Necro in your hand, that's just a mold the 4 at that point. You basically getting off a turn 2 Necro at that point, which is beautiful. Just dig however deep you want. I love that, man. Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, cool. All right, well, we've pretty much talked about most cards, but let's quickly touch on some notable lands in our deck. Anything special or spicy you want to touch on in our land base?
Definitely Emergent Zone. We talked about that before. That's the one that's going to let us give all of our spells flash on our end step if we're playing with Necropotence. Other than that, it's a pretty standard mana base. We've got Otawara and Beseiju as our channel lands. They're fantastic. You can use them through silence effects, things like that. So those are great. And we're also playing Gemstone Mine. So. Yes. It's a 5-color land. You can only tap it 3 times, but in this deck where we're trying to win quickly, that drawback isn't going to affect us as much because hopefully we're going to be winning before we end up sacrificing that land.
Yes, I definitely hear you there. And that's very fair. A land I'm actually interested to see in your deck is Reflecting Pool. And so how has that land been playing at you actually in the wild?
It's been fine. There have been a couple times where if you're looking at that card and it's the only land in your hand, it can hurt you. I think probably a Mana Confluence, something like that, would probably be better in that slot. But that's the land that I had day of the tournament. So I would replace it with something else, I think.
No, mad respect. I definitely hear you there. I've been looking at one of my fetch lands in one of my Marnius Calvert deck and thinking of making out a switch. And one of the lands I was looking at is Reflecting Pool. It's just tough because it's honestly kind of worse than Exotic Orchard, where Exotic Orchard copies the colors your opponents can tap for. Where Reflecting Pool, if that's the only land in your hand, you can't even keep it because now you're hoping to top deck a land to play the game in general. So it's always tough when we see that. It's always tough, but sometimes you gotta throw it back. I am seeing a basic swamp and I think that's our only basic land in here. Is that for the fact that we just are really serious about that black mana?
Yeah, same mentality with the Elf of Deep Shadow. You gotta be able to pay for those black pips.
I hear you there. Is there ever a time where you will want to also add a island or even switch this out for island? Like usually in most cEDH decks, they try to just have that island. And did you ever play test that, or has it really just been like you just learned at this point, like if you can't make black mana, you are just throwing back the hand, period?
I think you definitely can play an island. I think if you're only playing one basic and you're choosing between swamp or island in this list, I go with swamp.
Okay.
Just paying for that ad nauseam, that necropotence. That's going to be your most important task, and it also cast a turn 1 Vampire Tutor or Imperial Seal as well. So the black man is really, really important.
I definitely hear you there. That's fair. You're a very logical man, brother. You're hitting all the points perfectly. At this point, I'm just interested. Are there any other categories for this Turbo Tasker list that are very specific for you and that we haven't really got to touch on yet?
I don't think we've talked about the clone. So we're running the Phyrexian Metamorph. That was kind of a last minute include. I had one extra slot I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with, so I figured I'd go for a clone. It it could be anything. Clones are good. They can
Yeah.
copy docksides. They can copy, townies or any other card advantage creatures. Can copy One Ring. It was solid for me, but it could really be anything. If you want an extra counter spell, or if you want I don't know, an extra mana rock, something like that. I just had an extra slot, and I figured I'd just jam this.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that, especially with the addition of the One Ring in the meta. It's like the epitome of like, hey, I'm in a lone mo. I kept it because I'm playing against a mono blue deck, and I know they're gonna get a One Ring out. Or even if you just see it in your open hand and you just like, kept the 7 and someone drops a turn 1/1 ring. Like, okay, well, shit, that's a good pivot plan. Or even if there's like a T and K deck and they drop that turn 1 Crom. Crom is a great creature to clone. It's just very flexible, and in the nature of where cEDH, or in the nature that cEDH is nowadays, having these clone effects that can touch artifacts and creatures is just so valuable. Even being an artifact that you can use for your Isochron Scepter dramatic reversal combo is also amazing as well. So not mad at this inclusion at all. I really actually respect it 100%.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I believe we've touched on everything. I actually had a question for you, brother. So we've touched on all these amazing cards in your deck. You've pretty much talked on everything. I think the 2 questions I actually had left was Noxious Revival. We haven't talked about that one yet. Pretty self-explanatory. We're milling cards. I'm kind of getting the feeling it's just a way, like, in the universe that your opponents won't give you back an ad nauseum. It's a way to get a card out your graveyard that's kind of synergistic with our commander plan, basically.
Yeah. You can hit a couple of Tasigur activations, find something good, put it back on top. Or if we're going for that turn 2, turn 3 win that gets stopped, we can put it back and give ourselves another shot.
100%.
It also can sort of be graveyard hate in the right situation.
Yes, I agree.
Putting one of your opponent's cards back on top if they're going for some sort of graveyard combo. It's really versatile. I've seen a lot of lists cut Noxious Revival, but I've always been super impressed with it.
I agree. I love it, especially what you bring up. Like it's graveyard hate and top deck hate, where it's like you have someone tutor at the beginning, like on the end step, or during their upkeep. It's the epitome of like, oh shit, they just worldly tutor for a dock side. Okay, like, all right, maybe I can't completely stop them, but let me just Noxious Revival and make it a little bit tougher for them to get to that card. You know what I'm saying? Let's just throw a bait, fetch land on top of their library and whatever the heck where it needs to be. So I do love that inclusion. My big question I have for you, brother, is I love Isochron Scepter dramatic reversal. My big question is, though, have you ever thought about including the not delighted having, but devoted Druid combo in this deck?
Yes. Yeah, that's another great combo. Devoted Druid, Machine God's Effigy is going to give you infinite mana as well. Specifically for this list, Machine God's Effigy, Devoted Druid costs 6, and Isochron Scepter dramatic reversal costs 4 to get the combo started. And just being 2 less mana is super important. Once you've cast your ad nauseum, you might have limited mana to play with. So being the cheaper combo, I think, makes it win out in this situation.
That's fair. I'll give you that. I want to give one pushback, and we actually have some questions from the audience I want to bring to you and right after this. But my one pushback is the setup that comes with Isochron Scepter is sometimes tough, where in theory it's always like, well, I'll just have a bunch of mana rocks, but sometimes you just don't, and you have to go more ritual ramp, which you are running the sacrifice and other things along that line. Is there ever any times where you wish, like, okay, I have the mana to go off, but I just don't have the rocks that are netting 2+ mana, or just not giving me the colors I need? Or is it usually it's never really that scenario?
I'll be honest with you, it's never really come up where you have the combo but you don't have the rocks to pull it off, especially when you're resolving a Peer into the Abyss or an Ad Nauseam, something like that. You get so many cards into your hand, you pretty much always just oops into the amount of rocks that you need. So
I hear you there.
That specific scenario hasn't come up.
Okay, that's very fair. Okay, well, I want to take us real quick to the chat. We got Big Red, we got first Big Red asking the question. So asking, what is the total CMC and the curve of this deck? So this is a turbo Tasigur list. So of course we are running ad nauseam, and our curve, as you can see here, here's what our curve looking at. Well, we're actually almost topping off at about, largest curve is at 1 mana spells at 28 1 mana spells. And our mana value for the entire deck is 137. So basically including ad nauseam, the average mana value without ad nauseam is 1.35. The median value without ad nauseam is 1. And this calculation ignores any custom mana values, overrides, and includes lands, blah, 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 blah. But basically saying it's a great ad nauseam deck. Yeah. We also have Splendid Jet say, should I be running Phyrexian Metamorph over Phantasmal Image? And Big Red says, let's see the CMC of the list. And it depends. It depends on the list. And Big Red is saying it could be a lot lower. Drop some suggestions down in the chat. I think 1.35 is great for ad nauseam, but let's hear what Big Red has to say about that. And that looks like everything thus far. Like, is there any considering or sideboard cards, SJ, that you've been thinking about lately to maybe adjust the mana value of the deck, or anything else that's been going through your mind?
Not really. The combo lines are pretty set in stone. Needing to run a 7 and 8 mana creature is definitely tough at the ad nauseam, but the CMC, the average CMC, is still pretty low.
100%. Yeah.
I think there are a number of 1 mana counter spells that you really could consider, but I think I kind of narrowed down the ones that I was really interested in playing in this list. So overall, that reflecting pool is definitely something I would want to change. But other than that, I was pretty happy with the list that I was running. SCG Philly, it was a no proxy tournament, so I did not have a Bayou, and I didn't have a tropical island in the list. So
got you.
Those are two other includes that if you had those cards or you were able to proxy them, definitely add those to the list.
I definitely hear you there. Okay. Well, you brought up SCG Philly, and so could you just tell us about your experience? Like, first of all, you said 125 people, correct?
I think so. 120 something.
120 some. So out of 120 some people, what place did our man SJ fall in, brother?
After the top 16, I ended up in 11th place.
Woo! That ain't bad, brother. That ain't bad. So, okay. All right. Well, give us some details, brother. 11th place. That's huge, man. That's making the top 16 with a commander that is seen as fringe, or however people want to categorize it, is not the meta, is a huge deal. So tell us about your experience. Like, tell us about some games, some pod compositions. Talk to us.
Yeah. So it was 5 rounds cut to top 16. I had my 2 wins in rounds 2 and 3, and the big takeaway for me for this tournament is that those 2 wins they were both from Necropotence. So that card, honestly, I think is secretly the best card in this deck. Honestly,
really,
one life per card is one of the best rates out there, and especially it's only 3 mana. So that was definitely something that struck me, is that Necropotence was what was getting me my wins.
I hear you there.
Yeah, but the rounds were really fun. I drew round 1. We went to time.
Okay.
Won rounds 2 and 3. ID'd round 4, and then one of my opponents in round 5 had to play it out. So we played out round 5 and wasn't able to get that one, but still had enough points to make the cut into top 16.
Not bad. Okay, so very interesting Swiss rounds, but tell us about that top 16 game. Like, what was the experience like, and how many turns did it go? How was, just spit to us, brother. Talk to us.
It was great. I was not expecting to do as well as I did going into the tournament. After round 5 had ended, I wasn't totally sure if I was able to make the cut, and ended up having to run back to the command zone to get to the start of the game. but it was a pretty quick game. I kept a hand off the back of a Soul Ring and an Ad Nauseam, but
Got you.
didn't end up drawing any other ramp. So I was setting up for a turn 3 Ad Nauseam. The player in first seed went for a win on his turn 4, so seat 1, turn 4.
Got you.
I tried to negotiate with the Yuriko player in front of me to not attack on my next turn so I could send the Ad Nauseam for some interaction, but wasn't able to get him to agree to anything. So unfortunately, the player in seat 1 was able to win, but still, it was a good day, and politics is part of cEDH, so something that I definitely want to improve on in the future.
I definitely hear you there. That is honestly like a really tough sell. I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. Like, I know especially in the top 16 pod, you're so close to making top 4, so I can definitely see where it's like a player's like, yo, look, I'm gonna be honest, I got an Atnaz and I was trying to win, but at this point, we know player 1 can win on their next turn. Let me hold this up at instant speed and try to do some magic with this. It's either unless you have interaction, this is our only option. And I know especially for a Yuriko deck, if you're all not familiar, Yuriko is a card where they are trying to attack because it's card advantage as well as damage to the table. And it's a very, very, very tough situation. Like to put, like those Yuriko players have to make the choice. Like, do I progress my own board state or possibly find the interaction myself? Or do I trust that my opponent can not get greedy with that Nas and try to dig for a win, and we'll just dig for the interaction to stop? So definitely hear you when you say those tough situations are just very, very tough, brother. I definitely hear you there, man. So yeah. We have another question real quick though. From Big Red saying, is Scholar a must? So I'm going to let you answer that one, SJ. Talk to us. Is Scholar of the Lost Trove a must in this Turbo Tasker list?
Yes, it is 100% necessary. It's what enables you to combo with Neoform specifically.
Yes.
So we're trying to get to Hoarding Broodlord, which is 8 mana, from Tasigur, which is 6 mana. So Neoform lets you get a creature that costs 1 more. So you Neoform Tasigur into Scholar, and then Scholar lets you recast the Neoform, sacrifice Scholar, and then that gets you to Hoarding Broodlord.
100%. And of course we do run the Eldritch Evolution as well, but this that Scholar of the Lost Trove being just that bridge over spell, basically allowing us to win as early as, could you get this off on turn 1? I think this is more of a turn 2 combo, but if you ever got this off on turn 1 before?
I haven't personally, but there are hands that let you do it with Jeweled Lotus and Mana Crypt. It is possible to have enough mana to go off on turn 1.
100%, yeah. I know for this deck, for Tasker list, my favorite openers are, you see a 2 lands, some other type of fast mana to help get you the 2 extra colorless mana, but fetch land J-Lo, I love seeing that because, if I got something to do with Tasker, whether it's a sacrifice into a peer or a Neoform to go get Hoarding Broodlord and go through the line, Jewel Lotus, you brought this up earlier, is an amazing card in this deck. So really love to see that you're able to leverage that so well. We have Technomage saying, do you have the Jeff Goldblum variant of your Technomage asks if you have the Jeff Goldblum version of your commander.
I don't.
No!
It's a great art. I love it, but no, I don't have that.
Oh no. Okay, well look. We gonna put a GoFundMe together, brother, for you, because this this right here. If you don't have this version, brother, we gonna have to put that together for you, because this is a great card. It's just the epitome of bro, Jurassic Park. Come on, dude. Come on. So I hear you there, brother. Nah. Oh man, this was an amazing deck tech, brother. I kid you not. Is there any other intricacies you want to touch on right before we hit these play tests? I want to touch a couple play test hand before we move into the gameplay. But anything else intricate you want to touch for with the list?
No, I think we went over it pretty well. It's a great list, and The power of this deck, in my opinion, it comes from being able to combo from very low resources. You have a lot of one card wins in this deck, and that's where your edge comes from, I think.
I absolutely love that. The power of combo lines. Like, I absolutely love that. I absolutely love that. Yes, man. So we're going to get into some playtest hands now. We're going to use the beautiful Moxfield playtest, and we're just going to act like I'm going to give you a couple pod scenarios, and you just tell me if it's a keeper mole, and we're going to find a hand that gets it going. But before we do that, we got one more comment from Big Red 270 saying, I feel just doing Displacer Kitten spells Seeker lines would be faster and slower to the ground. There are a lot of rocks he could play, lower land count, etc. I'll let you answer this one. How do you feel about Displacer Spellseeker lines in this Turbo Tasigur Brew, SJ?
I think kind of what I just said about the deck being able to combo from such low resources is really where the strength comes from. There are a lot of really good combo lines that you can do in these colors, but having the high density of one card combos that's where the strength comes from. So
I definitely hear you there.
It's not, there are definitely a lot of really good, really robust combos in the format, but this one's trying to go fast and it's trying to combo as early as possible.
I definitely hear you there. Yeah, very, very powerful effect with the Spellseeker and the Displacer Kitten, but having to find both of those, even though you are in green, you are in the creature tutors, having to find both of those when you already have such a great commander that can Neoform or Eldritch and to just straight into getting your Hoarding Brute Lord or Scholar of the Lost Trove is definitely, I see the power of combo lines. So I hear you there, brother. Cool. Let's get into this first playtest hand. Let's say it's a good day. You're going first on our Turbo Tasigur Brew, all right? Second is Dahada. Third is TNK. And fourth is Marnius Calgar, okay? So we got 2 mid-range control-y decks and 2 turbo decks. And we're going to look at our first 7. It is a swamp, an undergrowth stadium, a breeding pool, a defense grid, a cabal ritual, a peer into the abyss, and a snap. How do we feel about this, brother?
It's going to be a mulligan.
Easy.
I don't think it matters what other 3 decks you're looking at. There's no ramp. You have Cabal Ritual, but we're 4 mana away from casting that Peer into the Abyss, and our only interaction is Snap. So I'm putting this one back.
I hear you. Let's go see another 7. Next 7: Flooded Strand, Emergent Zone, Reflecting Pool, Sacrifice, Brainstorm, Dramatic Reversal, and Abrupt Decay.
I think this is going to be another mulligan.
I hear you. Yeah, 3 lands.
This doesn't really do anything.
Yeah, like if we had that Pier still, maybe we can talk about it. But yeah, like we're hoping on Dreams with this Brainstorm, and at that point, we still possibly Brainstorm blocking because we have to use our fetch to get into the Brainstorm. So let's go check out a 6. All right, it is a Exotic Orchard, Command Tower, Reflecting Pool, Wishclaw Talisman, Veil of Summer, Deathrite Shaman, Culling Ritual. And we'll be nice. We did talk about Reflecting Pool is going to be Mana Confluence. So let's act it like we've seen Reflecting Pool multiple times. Let's say that's Mana Confluence. So we have Exotic Orchard, Command Tower, Mana Confluence, Wishclaw Talisman, Veil of Summer, Deathrite Shaman, and Culling Ritual.
It's actually a hand where Reflecting Pool is not that bad.
Okay.
But this is closer to a keep. Okay. So turn 1 Deathrite Shaman, potentially turn 2 Wishclaw Talisman, but what I'm really looking at is that Culling Ritual.
I hear you.
If we can power out that Culling Ritual on turn 2, maybe turn 3 into the Wishclaw Talisman, this is something that I might keep.
I hear you there. I definitely hear you there. So basically, with him, especially with the Dahada throwing out the bunch of rocks, you also Marnius and TNK are going to be claw into an Adnaz or appear into the Abyss.
Yeah, I think that's the plan. So I think put back that Veil of Summer. We don't have quite enough mana to go for that Culling Ritual with the Veil backup. So
yeah, I hear you.
Probably best just to go for it. So I think on a mold of 6, this is a hand that I think I'd be comfortable keeping.
I hear that. And it's so, I'm not gonna lie, I saw that Veil of Summer and got happier because I was like, I mean, shit, you looked at the land, you hope for the third land, but I mean, I could definitely hear in the universe, you want to make sure you 100% can get down the Culling Ritual on turn 3. So I can get with the Veil of Summer getting pitched away, because my only thought is, like, if you're able to go Culling Ritual, politic the Culling Ritual, be like, oh no, this person is ramping too much, let's just reset it. Follow that up with a Witch Claw with the Veil Summer backup, and also with the Adnaz Veil Summer backup. That's a conversation, but I can see in a universe where you don't draw another land. I don't know if we talked about the number of lands in this deck. We're at a healthy amount of 28, but still, if we don't draw another land, we're sitting ducks. So, and let's see if we draw a first card, draw a second card. It's a Mana Vault, which isn't bad. First vault draw would be a Chain of Vapor. Second draw would be a Mana Vault. We would still be there, but I'm not mad at pitching the Veil. I'm not mad at pitching the Veil. Okay. Yeah. All right, let's check another one. This time we're gonna say you are going third this time. First is, of course, TNK's in the pod. We're gonna throw TNK in the pod. Next, we're gonna say Tivit is going second. You're going third. And fourth is Tyem. Good old Stax. Counters. And our first 7. I'm gonna say it, but it's a Chrome Mox, a Dispel, a Mystical Tutor. I don't know if you can see this on the stream. It's Chrome Mox, Dispel, Mystical Tutor, Fluster Storm, Energy Tap, Thassa's Oracle, and Scholar of the Lost Trove.
Yeah, I'm mulligan that.
Yeah, let's throw it back. Let's see another 7. All right, second 7's a little better. We have a Wooded Foothills, Llanowar Waste, Isochron Scepter, Yawgmoth's Will, Mental Misstep, Carpet of Flowers, and Abrupt Decay.
For me, this is going to be another mulligan. We do have half of one of our combos, but no mana rocks, no tutors, no card draw. So
I hear you there.
This isn't really a deck where you want to be thinking, if I just want to draw something else. You really want your opening hand to kind of do everything you want it to do. So I would put this back, go for a 6.
I definitely hear you there. Okay. Yep. Let's throw it back. Let's see the 6. We are okay. Tell me how you feel about this. Chrome Mox, Otawara, Mox Opal, Grim Monolith, The One Ring, Hoarding Broodlord, and Mystical Tutor.
Yeah, this is definitely a keepable hand. That's a turn 2 ring, and that's good enough to go for it. So put that Grim Monolith down turn 1, and then cast that ring on turn 2. Go from there.
100%. What card are we pitching to the bottom, and what card are we pitching to our Chrome Mox? Well,
yeah. Very, very happy to put that Broodlord onto the bottom of the deck, and then Mystical Tutor is going to go into the Chrome Mox.
Definitely hear you there, definitely. And if I'm looking at this right, honestly, this is a turn 1 ring, a turn 1 ring. If you end up, if you go land Chrome Mox with that Mox Opal, you go land Chrome Mox into the Grim Monolith, drop the Mox Opal. That's 3, and you got a turn 1 run ring right here, brother. Yeah.
Couldn't wish for anything better than that.
I gotta agree with you. Let's see what our draws would be, though. Draws would be a Born Upon the Wind, and for the first draw of the turn. Is there I'm gonna ask another question here. So we have a choice. We're on the line. Are we pitching the Mystical Tutor or the Born Upon the Wind to the Chrome Mox?
With that, I think you pitch the Born, keep the Mystical Tutor, and then that, depending on what else you draw with the One Ring, you could turn that into an Ad Nauseam.
I definitely hear you there. I hear you. Yep, the Mox Opal gives us 1 black pip, and then with the One Ring, we're going to eventually draw into another land source. And so, depending on how we want to move, whether it's full mid-range, if like we time to start really stacking this out, we can really pivot with that Mystical Tutor. So I ain't mad at that, brother. Okay. All right. Well, that was our playtest hands. I want to say, SJ, you rock, man. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this deck tech with us. You're amazing. If you all are interested, I will have his information down in the bio for his deck list, as well as other information that I'm pretty sure there's a Tasigur community as well. If you want to join that, check them out. They're really awesome. Is there anything you wanted to say before we let you go and get ready for the gameplay? Anything you want to pub? Anything, brother?
I just want to thank you for having me on. This has been a blast. Yeah, I'm excited for the games, but I really appreciate you. Really appreciate you letting me do this deck tech.
No, 100%. No, like honestly, like I said earlier, you excited me when I saw this because the minute I joined the Tasigur community in the Discord, I was literally just looking at all the chats. I'm like, what direction do I want to go? And it was just the hardest debate. Everybody was like, no, Turbo's the best. No, mid-range the best. No, are we trying to have a 7-mana Scholar of the Trove in the deck? And like, for me, I'm a Turbo player in my heart, even though I do a lot of control in mid-range now, because I know I do a little politic and I know how to, I'm really good at grinding out the mid-range, but I love Turbo wins. And if you all haven't had the opportunity, if you're not completely sold on this list, all I say is go on the link in the bio and check this list out and just hit this playtest button. I wasn't a believer until I hit the playtest. It's really good. I don't want to hear just y'all just hit the playtest button and just let the deck pilot itself. It honestly, from what you saw these mulligans, I literally you're keeping 6s and 7s consistently with game plans that actually can move you towards a very earlier win as early as turn 2 to turn 3, or just get down an early turn 1 to turn 2 draw engine. So I just want to say, SJ, keep it up, brother. And I know they're looking forward to the gameplay. So yeah, brother, I just wanted to say thank you again to you, brother.
Yeah, no problem.
Cool. But with that said, thank you for being an amazing audience. If you are looking for more ways to support the channel, though, first of all, just following and ring the bell if you're on Twitch, and like and subscribing and ring the bell if you're on YouTube is the easiest way. Nice, clean, simple, gets the job done. But if you're saying TTC, I like doing that, but I want to go a little bit deeper. Okay, well, I got you. We got also our ThunderConductor Proxies link in the bio. It's my way to increase access to this amazing format we call cEDH. But if that's not your fancy, we also have our Patreon community. Shout out to our mono rare tier patron, Scott Mitchell. You are the man, and you keep the lights on in a way you can't even imagine. Thank you so much for being great. And if you want to join that community where you can have your access to deeper levels to our open Discord, come and join the Discord. And also have the opportunity to go, okay, I want to talk to TTC about my deck. I want to talk to TTC about music. I just want to talk to TTC about life and just get motivated and get hyped up. Come on and join the Discord community, but you get more access to me with the Patreon. And also, lastly, you get the opportunity to have your deck featured right here on the channel, both on Twitch and YouTube. And lastly, if you're saying, T, I don't want no Patreon, T, I don't want no proxies, I just want to say one time for the fun time, I love what you do and I want to support your channel. No problem. Go to the link in the bio. You can just buy me a coffee. It keeps me up and keeps the lights on. But with that said, I will see y'all very soon. Let's get into this Tasigur Turbo gameplay. I'll see y'all soon. Peace.